What's up, YouTube? Capital G here. We got a low tier pop off for you guys to check out, showing you what Cubics can do even when facing overwhelming odds, like a turn 1 extra link and some other stuff that would wreck a lot of the decks in the meta. We know that Spiral can extra link fairly easily. We know that from Spiral formats, and even with the deck in its nerfed, current position, it can still do a whole lot of good things. He has a little bit of a weird hand, Destrudo in the opening hand, plus Reasoning. It's not like the ideal hand. Also, he is going to take a -1 on the Reasoning his opponent calls 4, and I think he hits the Super Agent, so basically he gets no value out of his Reasoning. That's unfortunate, but it's fine. He's just going to special summon his Master Plan, and I think he's actually going to Reborn his Super Agent, so that's the instant copy of Double Helix, and once he's able to get the drone activated, then basically it's off to the races. You simply just readjust your opponent's deck however you want, and then boom, you're just able to, use Double Helix's effect, and you're just, kind of able to extra link or spam the field from there, not ending with a sleeper here. But instead, he is going to go for the extra link route, which is still legitimate. Extra links are not exactly easy to deal with if your opponent doesn't have an extra monster zone, and he is going to potentially lock him under the Nightmare Corruptor Iblis. So it is a legit play. He is going to also get a Trigate Wizard on this board. I thought it would have been kind of cool if you could have dropped FA Don Dragster, but that's not going to be the play here. Nightmare Griffin is going to be used for Mermaid to pull out that Corruptor from your deck and then kind of Corruptor lock your opponent. Not done with the extra link. He does need to make the Nightmare, not Nightmare Mermaid, but he needs to go ahead and make that Trigate Wizard so that he has at least one negation against his opponent, and then he finalizes it by, putting the Nightmare Phoenix here so that it is protected by battle. Not the prettiest extra link the world has ever seen, but it definitely can get the job done. Let's see what his opponent is going to do, and keep in mind he is locked currently under the Iblis, so he can't special summon unless it is that link summon using like the Iblis. So it's a little bit of a problem, but the the top decks are going to be real, and he top decks the perfect out Monster Gate. he basically tributes it as a cost, so it doesn't matter if Trigate would have negated it. And the thing about Cubics is, now Cubics have so many cards that activate from the graveyard. He got Cubic Karma in his graveyard, which is a free rota for his deck. He has Unification of the Cubics, which can summon another monster from his deck. In addition to that, he has Cubic Dharma. This can add one of his Cubic monsters in his graveyard. For instance, this big-ass Crimson Nova Deity. He can put this in his hand for free, so he got massive advantage out of that Monster Gate, and his opponent gave him the card to use it with. So actually, thanks, opponent. It was so nice of you to use that. You can see he activates Karma to get a monster, and then drops not 1, not 2, but 3 copies. 3 of them things, as DP Yu-Gi-Oh would say. 3 of them things when it comes to the Crimson Nova Deity. This dude is, this Dark Lord is OP, guys. He can attack twice. He does 3,000 burn damage to both players, and he's unaffected by monsters that have, I believe, less than 3,000 attack, or it might be less than his attack, or monsters whose original attack is less than 3,000. So it's a lot of monsters, but he's not done there. He's even dropping more monsters on board. He's like, Cap, I am trying to actually kill this guy. Uses Unification of the Cubics. Now, his opponent is going to go ahead and negate the Cubic Wave. He basically has to, right? Because Cubic Wave is kind of like an OTK card. It basically can double your monster, and then it can take half the attack away from your opponent's monster. So he does have to negate this. The problem is his opponent is not done throwing stuff at him. He's going to normal summon another copy of the Duza. Then he's going to go ahead and activate the copy of Cubic Wave from his graveyard, targeting 3 monsters, turning them off, and this is unfortunate. Now that he has turned off both of the mermaids, guess what? He has 3,000 attack monsters, and the Nightmare Phoenix is actually a problem now, because now it's making it so that his mermaid can't be destroyed by battle. I guess it honestly wouldn't have mattered. He just would have been able to attack into the second mermaid, but he actually is going to OTK him relatively easily. And keep in mind that he also would have been able to do 3,000 damage, 3,000 burn damage during the end phase anyway. So even if his opponent somehow survived this, if he hadn't used Destrudo earlier in the turn, he was going to almost certainly get OTK'd by this anyways. He could have just attacked his Link monsters, and he just would have ended up losing. So yeah, Cubics fighting back, not needing to use the extra deck at all. I did not realize how much advantage they can actually make just with their graveyard through cards like Reasoning and Monster Gate. Now, it was actually kind of crazy. Next duel is actually going to be Blue Eyes versus Danger Dark World. Danger Dark World, I mean, it's interesting because both of these decks are kind of level 8 based. I still consider Danger Dark World to be kind of level 8 based, mainly thanks to like Grapha, and I mean, there are like multiple Danger monsters that are level 8, so you might see both players actually make like Titanic Galaxy. I do think that that basically is like one of your best play, or one of your best plays. He's running Denko Sekka in the main deck, so that is kind of like a hard brick, but it's not necessarily a hard brick because if you do happen to discard it for a danger monster, then, you know, no sweat. Double copies of Saryuja Skull Dread. The thing is, I feel like he's not actually getting anywhere. I mean, it's kind of cool he did Monster Reborn his opponent's Amorphous Goliath, but this was just kind of like dumb luck, right? I mean, if he didn't have Monster Reborn for the Amorphous Goliath, wouldn't he have had like 0 plays there? I mean, just being real, it feels like he just would have went for Saryuja Denko Pass, which, what the fuck is that going to beat in Yu-Gi-Oh? Like, every deck would just beat your chest in. Anyways, he's going to summon Blue Eyes off of Art Brave. I think it was a little troll here. I'm not sure why he didn't summon Blue Eyes White Dragon to Saryuja's Link Point. That would have made Blue Eyes 3,300. He could have simply attacked over his own Amorphous Goliath and instantly outed it. Hell, he could have just Monster Reborned it afterwards. He's going to attack over 2 monsters, but Amorphous Goliath is still a little too powerful. So that was a missed opportunity. It's fine. I mean, basically, if he can out the Amorphous Goliath, he should be fine. And he does have the alternative dragon. So if he can get another Blue Eyes in his hand, he can easily out it. His opponent, maybe, I don't know, dude, maybe I feel like he should have just normal summoned Archsword Christia here. I think that that would have been the play. Now that I'm looking at it, he could have taken these 2 danger monsters, distributed them for Christia, and just, you know, pray to God that you can win off Christia. I think that, you know, maybe if these 2 attacks, the 2 Blue Eyes dies, maybe you end up winning, but it's going to be, you know, something that he's probably going to, you know, end up, it's going to cost him to do it probably. Anyways, alternative dragon is going to be summoned after he added the Blue Eyes to his hand and pops. He plays Brilliant Fusion and he gets that 1 copy. People out here still making Brilliant Fusion work. Shout outs to them. He is going to start bringing out the Guard Dragon side. Once he got Red Eyes, I was like, yeah, bro, you're probably not going to come back. Even with this copy of the beginning of the end, it simply doesn't matter. You activate it, he will activate number 38. He even went for Monster Reborn on his opponent's Saryuja, I guess for, I don't know why. I think it was like highly unnecessary, to be honest. I would have tried to go for Amorphous Goliath. His opponent's going to try and make Boral Sword, which is fine. It can get rid of 2 monsters. The problem is he has so many monsters still at his disposal and an alternative in hand. What's stopping him from simply going for his own Boral Load and then stealing your Boral Sword and then killing you with your own Boral Sword Dragon? Let alone he doesn't even need to do that. It's a possibility. You know, it's just something that he can do. I don't know if he'll do that. He might just activate alternative, simply pop the Boral Sword Dragon, and then that'll pretty much be the end of the duel. I feel like, you know, this player at the top, I feel like both players had opportunities to win. I feel like the Danger Dark World player, had he gone for that Christia play, maybe that would have been his opportunity to potentially win. I'm not sure if he would have been able to I'm not sure he would have been able to take out 2 Blue Eyes in 1 turn. No, maybe that's the reason he didn't do it, because he was like, Cap, I could attack over 1 Blue Eyes, but I couldn't kill the other one, and then my opponent would have just attacked into Christia. But really, even the Blue Eyes player kind of trolled, because if he summons Blue Eyes to Saryuja's Link Point in the first turn and outs Goliath, I'm pretty sure he just ends up winning there. So this duel was it was kind of sloppy and all, but hopefully you guys enjoyed those duels. Actually, you know what? Let's pause for a second and check out the Cubic deck. Alright, so this is what that specific build of Cubics look like on paper. The monster lineup seems fairly similar to what Cubics have run in the past. I don't really think that has changed all that much. However, when it comes to the spells and traps, looks like Cubics are basically just maxing out on everything. A lot of the new cards from like the 20th anniversary pack, cards like Cubic Karma, or excuse me, Cubic Dharma. Cubic Karma is one of the old cards. Cards like Cubic Dharma, Ascension, Cubic Omen. I do not believe that we have any like hard release dates for these in the TCG, so it might be a little while before we get these. I'm guessing that we'll probably get these before the end of the year. The interesting thing about Cubics is Cubics used to be a deck that, you know, it always wanted to send its spells and traps to the graveyard. Foolish Burial Goods has always kind of been a card that they ran because Cubic Karma was a Rota from the graveyard, so just based on that alone, you were always kind of using Cubic Karma from the graveyard. However, now you have way more utility than just Cubic Karma. You guys saw in his opening turn just based on the monster gate, he got a Karma in the graveyard, which gave him the Rhoda effect. And then in addition to that, he got a Cubic Dharma in the graveyard, which allowed him to get the Warrior Returning Alive effect to add his boss monster, the Crimson Nova Dark Lord, to add that back to his hand. And then even in addition to that, you can have something like Cubic Ascension. You can banish this guy from the graveyard, and then it allows your Cubic monsters to basically inflict damage equal to your opponent's monsters attack when you run them over, which obviously is nuts when you combine it with this, because this guy can potentially attack twice, and then if you resolve it with like Cubic Wave, his attack goes through the roof. Also, he does 3,000. So I kind of feel like cards like Monster Gate and Reasoning have gotten like infinitely better in the Cubic deck. They were already like fairly good, but now they're just nuts. Also, a lot of times you'll skip over your monsters because you're like, a lot of these Cubic monsters cannot be special summoned except by their own effects. So even though you do see a lot of monsters, a lot of them are just going to be skipped over anyways. Also, Cubics have a whole bunch of just random levels. Like you can look at the levels 1, 2, 3. They have basically every level there. And last thing is, you can even get something like Unification of the Cubics in your graveyard as well. This allows you to, when a Cubic monster leaves the field by any way, even link summoning, it allows you to banish it and summon another Cubic monster from your deck, which is usually Duza, because he has a built-in Foolish Burial when for the spells and traps. He has a built-in Foolish Burial when he's summoned. So yeah, it feels like the Cubic deck is kind of taking shape. I think that it would be better if things like Monster Gate or Reasoning were, at higher numbers on the limited and forbidden list. But even something like Pot of Extravagance, Cubics don't really use their extra deck all that much. They're mainly just about kind of one-shotting the opponent, or really just using Crimson Nova to do all the damage. So it is kind of interesting that the deck is like, it's greatly improving, and that's the reason why you do see multiples of like all the Nightmare monsters. You probably want to run multiples of these cards if you're potentially going to use like Pot of Extravagance.